Because I talk a lot about the astral realm, I wanted to mention a movie that is fairly new still. It's been out for a while, so I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, and it was really good. I liked it. It's called Weapons, where the kids run off into the night and the old witch snatched them up. I hope that's not a spoiler for anybody, but if it is, it's still worth watching. Um, what I would like to talk about is I've seen on TikTok how a lot of people are really divided about whether or not the spellcraft that was displayed in this movie is legitimate or not. Um, I noticed right away that she used a black thorn branch to snap. She applied personal belongings to it, a lock of hair, blood, um, ribbons, things like that. Um, Now, that I would consider as physical witchcraft, very much is. But I feel like during the discussion on Witch Talk, I feel like there was a big mark that was missed. And I would like to talk about that one because, spooky metaphysical stuff is what I like. And I feel like that movie was very deep in a way that maybe not everyone, but some people missed. So, one thing that I would like to point out about that movie is most of the characters, when they see the witch for the first time, they are in an altered level of consciousness. They're either asleep or they're under some illicit substance. And I don't think that was supposed to be just a small thing. I think that was a telltale sign that a lot of the spellcraft that this witch was performing was in the astral realm. That's what I think it is. Um, so, as far as the physical side of the witchcraft, I'm sure that she was using some sort of binding that she had with personal items and things that I mentioned. But I think the rest, maybe even the bulk of the work, came from manifestation through the astral realm. And the reason why I say that is when you're asleep, you are in that realm, whether you're aware of it or not. So when you're asleep and you dream, you're in that realm in a smaller frequency of it. And this is when the characters in the movie saw her, and she knew right where to find them because she could move in that realm because in, in my best knowledge, they displayed her as someone as being very well practiced in that realm. And I think that's a lot of the bulk of where her work came in at. And I was kind of surprised that none of the witch talk people was talking about that part. And maybe they weren't talking about that part because that part is maybe deeper or spookier. I don't know. Um, but the drug abuser, he saw her. He had an altered level of consciousness, so he could have very well been touched within that realm or in and out of it at that point, and that's how he saw her. The other characters, like I said, they were sleeping, so she knew exactly where to find them, their essence, and things like that. So I feel like as we talk about protection in the astral realm, maybe that is something to consider. Um, I don't feel like personally things can harm you in a way without your consent. Um, I hope that makes sense. There is a universal law of consent, and ignorance can be a form of consent. So if you are not knowledged about something, you can accidentally agree to it. And I feel like, in a way, that might have been the little tongue in cheek nuance that was going on in that movie. And I might be wrong. I would love to have a debate on it. a friendly one, and get some other opinions on that. I think that's what she was doing is she was going after people in the astral realm. Other things that I think were telltale signs in the movie Weapons that she did the bulk of her work in the astral realm. The most obvious one is the father who was sleeping in the son's room, I think. He had woke up, stood up, and when he turned around, he saw that he was still sleeping. Um, that was one portion in that told me, without a doubt, that this was astral work that was at play. Another feature in that was the time frame that they used. It was 2:15, 2:17, I believe. Um, that is the time frame that your body produces the most amount of melatonin in its system. And melatonin helps with astral travel. 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. is that time frame when your body has the highest level of melatonin. And this time frame is often associated with the witching hour. More specifically in movies at 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. But for the sake of this movie, it sounds like the witch didn't waste any time at all. She kind of struck at that height, that first moment of melatonin in the victim's system to look for them in the astral realm. I've often spoke on I really don't want anybody to be afraid of any of this. Um, I feel like you shouldn't be. Like, being wary of something is not the same as being afraid. Being wary of something is you're aware of risks, you're aware of maybe intentions. Um, that is one of the things that keeps you safe. Um, but just because something seems scary doesn't mean that it is necessarily. And I guess what I would really like to say on this, speaking on consent and protection and things of that nature, is being aware of something is better than being unaware of something. So, for my own sake, I'll just use myself as an example. The more aware I am, the more I have armor in my tool belt to go forward in my life and explore the astral. Um, to be ignorant of something doesn't shield you from it at all. And I think that was maybe a subtle note in that movie of just being ignorant of what could or could not happen does not shield you from consequences of that. And I think that the more aware you become, whether you are attempting, studying, and practicing, maybe not even fully successful, just in the process of attempting and practicing astral travel and exploring this side of things can protect you more than not knowing at all. And I feel like that is maybe an important point to say on this. The more aware you are of something, the better equipped you are to handle something. And to be wary, again, is not to be afraid of something, but just to know and understand deeply what that is and what it means. Um, so, astral protection can be one of those things that give you a sense of stability and courage to explore a realm that you otherwise would be ignorant of. And ignorant and naivety of things is not necessarily a bad quality, but it's definitely not a quality that you want to be in an unconscious state. As I stated before, when you go to sleep,
you are exploring that realm, whether you're aware of it or not. And the practice of lucid dreaming, the practice of trying to astral travel and be successful at that, can make you more aware and give you more armor as a form of protection than not knowing in the first place.
So, astral protection, the astral body condom, so to speak. um, I've read a lot about it, and it's essentially this is what most writers, projectors would agree on, I think, would be to imagine drawing energy from the top of your head through your third eye and expanding that energy outward into a gold radiating ball of protective energy. This is the most common one that I've come across. If you know of another one that you would like to share, I'd love to hear it. This is the most common one that I've come across. You're going to envelop your body with this ball of light, and that will perform a type of protective field around you. I've tried this technique and I feel like it works. A lot of it is, it kind of sounds silly. It really does. And just like learning new things, they sound silly at first and they even feel silly until you start practicing them and you get better at them. And you start learning more by getting better at them. You start exploring more aspects of what it means, and you'll have a deeper understanding of why. That was kind of me when I first started. I was like, oh, imagination land, go fig, like this sounds silly, but when you're dealing with things in a metaphysical space, it is of the mind and it is of creation and things. And this is the thought space that it takes shape in. So after a while, it made perfect sense to me. And I think it will to you too. It just takes time. And like all things that are worth doing, it takes practice and it takes a little humility of just feeling silly for a while and getting better at something and kind of exploring that space of what that means. So that is one technique. The other technique is one that I like to call being Godzilla. This is my personal favorite one. And I feel like it helps in the astral realm as well as in the physical realm, reality, is you just take up space. You just take up space and you make yourself big. And what I mean by that is you just radiate with a confidence. And if you don't have confidence, fake it. Fake it. Um, you just make yourself big and you take up space. And you will see, if you're lucky, astral creatures, they will get out of your way. They really will. A lot of times they won't mess with you. And if they do, stomp them. Stomp them. Be Godzilla. Knock them out of your way. You project, and when you come across things, you hold your space. You hold your space and you make your space as big as possible. You take up space. You allow yourself to take up as much space as you can. And you hold yourself with a certain kind of confidence that, hey, go ahead and try something. I dare you. you know, um, I kind of feel like it leads into reality a little bit, where you do have to hold an amount of space and give yourself permission to do so. And I don't think it's any different in the astral realm. I have had lack of confidence in my life before, and the best solution to it is to hold space. You have a body, it needs a place to be. And the perfect place to be is exactly where you're standing. And you're supposed to be here. So own the space. Own the space because you belong here just as much as anyone else. And when you go to the astral, it's no different. You belong there just as much as anything else. So hold your space, become big and confident, like Godzilla. So, learning about astral projection and the meaning of what realms are, the creatures that you see, and things like that. I found a section in one of the books, and I'll post it in my title comment what book that was, but they go over the elements of reality, which is minerals, plants, animals, and people. And talking about being Godzilla and taking confidence in the astral realm and in your everyday life, I feel like the spirituality of rocks is something to consider. And I know that it sounds silly. Like, how can a rock be spiritual? Like, what can I learn from a rock? Um, Very simply, I'll state this, and maybe I'll do a longer discussion on it. But very simply, it is about taking up space. A rock exists and it doesn't apologize for its existence. It takes up the space that it needs to because it has to. It exists without anyone's permission and it holds strong until, someone picks it up and maybe tosses it or turns it into another material. But at this point of just existing, it is what it is and it's not changing. It's unmoving. You cannot argue it to death out of being what it is. And that would be the first spiritual level of what you can learn from a rock. So, growing confidence in the astral realm. I feel like that's why they mentioned it in the book. And maybe I'm not explaining it as thoroughly. And maybe that's why I should go into deeper detail on it. But this whole thought process of becoming Godzilla and holding your space, or even imagining protective light around yourself, is all in the same vein of the same concept being, of just being, owning your space, and not asking for permission to exist. And I think that is one of the many things that we could probably learn from a rock. Probably the best one to learn from a rock is take up space. Take up space. You're here. You're here for a purpose. What that purpose is, for discovery or for your own sake of knowing. But hold the space. Hold the space. Exist like a rock that should be here. I see a lot of discussion on which talk about manifestation. And I love it. I love that people are becoming in tune for this kind of stuff and kind of breaking down reality finally and understanding it on a deeper level. If I had to add anything to the discussion that I think might be missed, is the astral portion of it. Manifestation does exist in thoughts. So you can practice and live in abundance with your thoughts and direct your life in a certain way that will create abundance for yourself. That's exactly that. But much like the witch in Weapons, I think that it's a two-part gig. So not only are you practicing the physical side of things, but you need to practice the metaphysical side of things. And the metaphysical bulk of that work is going to be in the astral realm. So when and if you are able to project, you can think on things and imagine things that you would like to change or bring into creation for your life. I had said in an earlier video that one of my favorite things to do was to crawl on the ceiling, and I still do that to this day. Sometimes I won't even venture out. Sometimes I'll just sit on the ceiling and envision myself in a physical form that's healthier, that's living a longer life, younger, you know, things that I feel like are within my realm of capability of doing. Um, I feel like you start where you are concentrated on things that are closer to your vest, so to speak. So, things that are closer to you in nature, such as your health and your body and your thoughts and things like that, are easier to manipulate than things such as money and things like that. And I'm not saying that they're unobtainable. What I mean is you have everyone else's manifestation butting up against what it is you want. So, in that sort of practice, I would recommend working on things that are closer to home so that you can hone those skills and kind of work yourself outward with them. And I think just being in that astral realm, if you get the chance to, and like let's say you maybe are not out or projected for that long, within those moments, take the time to think on your health and becoming healthier, or moving yourself in a way that's more positive. And you can do that in the realm of creation, which is exactly what the astral realm is. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, all things that mankind has ever thought of exist there. And there's a reason for that. So, on a quantum level, you can manifest your best life by starting with the smallest things that you can change until you get into a bigger um, area where you can practice that. You become stronger, more confident, like what we've been talking about. Um, but the more you practice that, the more you're going to see little changes in yourself. You're going to see little changes in your personality for the better. And confidence, as much as it's easy to say, confidence is God. It really is. If you are not living a confident life, it's hard to navigate. It's hard to navigate. And like I said, easier said than done, right? I have not always been a confident person. But confidence is sort of exploring the unknown of something and having faith in yourself and seeing the end of that in a positive way. So, the astral realm, crawling on your ceiling or wherever your checkpoint is the easiest way to do that and explore that aspect of yourself that you wouldn't normally get time to. Something that was a little silly, and I think necessary silly, in context of what I like to talk about, was an episode of South Park that I saw a while back, and it was Randy using Doctor Strange techniques. And I don't remember what he was using them for. I'll have to look up that episode again, but since I'm just thinking of it off the top of my head, I figured I'd mention it. So he is opening up a portal like Doctor Strange would in the movies and the comic, and someone looks in on him. I think it's his wife, and she sees nothing where he is just kind of dancing, being silly in his barn, um, Integrity Farms. But in his mind, he's seeing a portal open, and he's seeing the sigils, he's seeing the magic and the glowing and all of that. And when we discuss astral protection and using the mind and creation as a form of protection on that, it's very that. And I was really taken aback by the episode because it was silly. And it was funny and all the things, but at the same time, it was exactly correct as far as metaphysics go. You have to imagine things as if they're real if you want to manifest them. So if you're trying to manifest a ball of protective light around yourself, around your astral body, you have to deeply imagine it as if you can see it. And Randy dancing by himself, calling up these sigils from Doctor Strange is exactly correct. And I find stuff like that funny when kind of art or comedy and things of that nature kind of mimic this deep truth that does sound strange and it does sound very, off the cuff. And why would anybody do that? And I felt like it was a really good example of how maybe you would feel the first time that you're practicing things like this. But it is a work of mind and it is a work of imagination because it has to manifest itself somewhere before it becomes here in reality. So be your best little Randy self, when you're summoning up these sigils and creating that ball of protective energy for yourself. Or if you want to become Godzilla, it's the same way. You have to imagine yourself big. You have to imagine yourself strong. You have to imagine yourself confident in ways that you may not be until it becomes real. It is an imaginative process because when you're dealing with things on a metaphysical level, you're dealing with the mind. So if you can imagine it, it can manifest. And that is a vague explanation of that. Um, it will feel silly, as most things do when you first start them and you're not that confident in it and you're learning about it. It's okay. Learning is a not so confident, silly process. And it's okay to do that.
Manifestation in general takes a certain kind of childlike joy um, to make things happen. It takes a lot of imagination. It takes a lot of stepping outside yourself and allowing yourself to be in a silly place, um, and kind of bring you back to when imagination wasn't silly. It was just a part of life, like playing with friends or relatives, loved ones. When you were a kid growing up, um, several religions mention going forward in life as a child, being curious and exploring things as if you were a child and learning and developing yourself in a way a child would. Um, but since we are adults, and the ones of us who are growing up into adulthood, we tend to forget how magical just believing something is. And that's where metaphysics kind of meets reality a little bit, where I feel like a child has a bigger grip on manifestation than maybe an adult who has a lot of doubts and things that they've experienced in their life that cause them to be more doubtful about how metaphysics and manifestation work in a quantum level. But you have to approach things with a childlike wonder. And that is going to be the most successful manifestation that you can call upon is with the eyes and the mind of a child. I'll teach you a technique to open your third eye. And it's helpful to open your third eye when you are exploring things that are metaphysical. And it's a real simple way to do it. So close your eyes and envision within yourself, focus on this area here, what your third eye looks like to you. And whatever it looks like, see it and recognize whether or not it's opened or closed. And if it's open, close it. If it's closed, open it. And if you do this correctly, you should feel it open or close within you. And in order to open yourself up psychically to things, this is a good technique to do that. So, like, let's say, for example, you're a person whose third eye is open all the time. You may feel a level of anxiousness, and in public places, you may feel uncomfortable because you're constantly being bombarded by everyone else's aura, frequency, things like that. So, you can actively close your third eye so it is not something that disrupts you. Or if you are practicing things and you're trying to open up yourself more for success, you can open your third eye to kind of draw in that energy. And this is a technique for it. It is a very imaginative process. But that is what happens on a metaphysical plane is you have to use creation energy, imagination, to help open up that portal within you. And if you do it successfully, you should be able to feel it happen. It feels like a little thump within you. And that is something like I like to start on when I'm teaching people this in the beginning is to open or close their third eye. And you can reopen it or close it depending on circumstance of what you need to use it for.